there's been some pushback on Travis Etienne this week, guys. Right? The quote was that the coaches don't want to see him play 74% of snaps. So now we see Tank Bigsby, Theo, drafted with pretty decent draft capital. What was it, the third round in the real NFL draft? So,
Yeah.
As fantasy analysts, we put those together and we say, oh man, they drafted this guy to take over Travis Etienne's a good chunk of his workload. But let's untangle what it really means, because I'm following some of the redraft rankings and the dynasty startup stuff too. Etienne falls a little, Bigsby goes up a little. What's the correct reaction for dynasty fantasy football?
I think that's the correct reaction. I think it's like I wrote about Etienne losing value as one of the 5 players I thought lost some dynasty value post NFL draft. So for me, it's like we all talked about like Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet being drafted, and Ken Walker was like the one that everybody wants to talk about. Whereas the Etienne one, you get kind of like a little bit of pushback, but now you're starting to see it, and it's starting to get reflected in the redraft rankings and also the dynasty rankings. We had to move Etienne down a little bit. We did it on Player Profiler. Like, it just makes sense if they're going to spend draft capital on Tank Bigsby. It is a little bit more of a threat than Dearness Johnson and JaMychal Hasty. I think the other thing with Etienne is he has the 7% target share. So adding any kind of a threat there to a guy that's like sub 10% target share is difficult. Bigsby produced in the SEC. Bigsby has size. He has receiving ability, and he did it on some pretty bad Auburn offenses. So, like, I don't dislike Travis Etienne, but I do think that this is a threat to him. And I think that Doug Peterson, the last time he had a back that was a threat to Etienne, we had those James Robinson weeks at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's going to be that, but I do think that we like the talent of Etienne more than the actual production that we've seen. And now we have a more threatening backup running back there. And Alan, to your credit, like, redraft has reacted really quickly with this. Like, Etienne hasn't shot down because the running back market in redraft is kind of funny. Like, Etienne still is a third year back. He's still a guy that produced last year. Like, he hasn't like cratered, but you are seeing Tank Bigsby being drafted with like the elite handcuffs. Bigsby's an 11th round pick in like $350 FFPC redraft leagues right now. So there's usually a little bit of a correlation right there. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
If Travis Etienne had a higher target share, he would be much more insulated.
Yes.
The problem is a lot of his value is derived from just a huge touch share in general, a carry share as well, because he was commanding a lot of his opportunity share was huge. Like, he was dominating that backfield. You just had JaMychal Hasty jumping in for 6 targets here and there, but the carries were going to Etienne. Bigsby's initial threat is going to be taking carries away, being in there for every third drive, potentially going in there in short yardage situations. It's not good. It's not good. It can offset. It's possible that Etienne, in his second year in the league, decides that he's going to, double his, weekly targets. That would be great. That it's possible based on what he did in college. It's highly unlikely. But that's really the path. It's like a guy is going to show us receiving skills in the NFL that we haven't seen at this level before from him. So there's a very low probability of that happening, but there's a much higher probability that Bigsby cannibalizes significant touches from Etienne. I don't love it.
Podfather, would you rather have Najee Harris or Travis Etienne in Dynasty if you're doing a startup right now?
I would rather have Etienne. And it's a great question because they were both drafted in the first round in the same draft class.
That's why I asked. That's what.
And it's just this offense, if things break right for Etienne in this offense, if he does improve his target share, for example, I mean, he is an explosive first-round talent. In this offense, it's tantalizing. And Najee Harris is never going to have the kind of ceiling, league-winning ceiling that Etienne still has. So that would be the reason why. But it's now, like Theo said, it's closer for sure.
You saw Najee Harris's best fantasy season as a rookie. Like, I don't think he'll hit that 17 points per game mark. Harris is a useful player. We also like the offense better. Like, Jacksonville's offense could be could be a top 5 offense this year
That's
if
the
it
thing.
falls right. They're a top
That's
10
the
offense
thing.
last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's super interesting, Alan. I'm still taking Etienne ahead of Najee Harris. And I think that there's the devil's advocate argument to this is the first healthy offseason Etienne has had, where, he's trying to recover from everything. This year he's healthy, and maybe he's going to be a per touch, extremely efficient per touch, and maybe Bigsby actually makes him more efficient. But I hate those kind of arguments where it's could be less volume, but the efficiency could be better. I hate those kind of arguments. I want the volume. And like Matt said, if we could just hear, Doug Peterson say, hey, we got to get Etienne the ball more as a receiver, like, I think that would make everybody's, hopes go back up. But I don't know. It seems like it's kind of a slow drip for the summer where it's going to be kind of a constant guy that gets built up. Those guys don't always hit, and Etienne could start returning value for redraft people, and maybe people get a discount in Dynasty. But I think it's going to be a slow Tank Bigsby drip all summer long, and it's not cool. It kind of sucks when you're rostering a Travis Etienne,
It's
and
annoying.
you want more, and you know the talent's there.
If you like that video, be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out playerprofiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.